All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining from today. I'm here with another live session with you guys. I'm excited to be with you. My name is Jeremy. I'm with Made Management. I own a talent management company that is based in New York City. And we are representing talent actors and managers from all over the world. And I'm currently not in New York City. I am in Arizona. That's why my background's like this. I'm traveling. I'm temporarily in Arizona. I figured I thought to myself a week ago, I said, where's the hottest place I can go to on Earth? And it was either Arizona or Dubai. And I thought Dubai was a little too far. So I decided I wanted to go get some heat in Arizona. But as you guys are joining today, feel free to put in the chat. Let me know where you're joining from. Any questions that you have throughout, we'll try to answer all of your questions here today. I do have a special guest with me today. I'm excited about this session. I hope you guys are ready to learn a lot. That's what we're here to do. We're gonna solve all the world's problems today, and we have approximately 57 and a half minutes to do that. So I have a guest that's going to join me, and he is going to be helping us solve those world problems. And I see somebody's joining me from Germany. Nice, welcome. So good evening to you. Late Saturday evening from Germany, Orlando, Florida. Nice. Joe, you say you're in Orlando, but I know you. You're not always in Orlando, I don't believe, right? You're currently in Orlando now? Well, it's good to see you, or good to hear from you. I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks in Orlando. I'm excited about that. But before I get too distracted, let me let me bring on my guest. Uh, you guys don't want to just hear me talk the whole time, but let me bring on my guest here. Oh, Perth, Australia in the house. I love it. Good morning. Good Sunday morning to you. 3 in the morning from Germany. Exactly. Yeah, you're joining us late. Thanks, Andrea, for joining us so late. I love it. All right. Well, no further ado. Let's let my guest here. There he is. Mr. Ted, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Where are you located at?
I'm in Los Angeles, um, LA.
Nice.
I joined you right after my Manhattan Beach outfit. Oh, there you go.
There you are. Okay, you're breaking up a little bit. So you're sitting in LA, joining us today.
And excuse my
So
laptop.
we're on this.
Laptop's running a little slow today for some reason.
Is it giving
So
you connection
anyway,
issues?
yeah, I'm from Avalon Artist Group here in LA.
Nice. And Ted, how long have you been working with Avalon? What's your history?
Okay.
Oh, I think I lost you. We lost Ted. What if you? I wonder if you'd be better on your phone. Would it be better to join us? Do you want to try that? Because for some reason, we're having a little bit of a connection issue. You're breaking up, but maybe it's the laptop.
It might be the laptop. Um,
Okay, let's try. Do you have
I
a
think
phone
it's
that
the
you can connect
laptop.
to?
Maybe I should jump on my phone.
Okay, give that a shot. Yeah,
That.
come back and join us here in a minute. We'll say hi to everybody that's out there
I
watching while we're waiting on you to come back and join us. So I got Canada in the house. Nice. I don't know where that's at. Saskatchewan. I've never been to
I'm gonna try
Saskatchewan.
from my.
Okay, here we go. I see you there. Perfect. Okay, adding Ted back in. He's joined us on his phone. Birmingham, Alabama. Nice. I haven't been there in a long time. I love Alabama. All right, there we are.
That's better.
Oh, that's a lot better. Yeah. We're solving all the world's problems one laptop at a time today.
Right. I got a new laptop. That's not the one I'm using. It doesn't have. At first, I thought this was a Zoom, so I was like, I don't have Zoom. So I jumped on my old laptop, and the reason why I got a new laptop because the old laptop sucks. So let's go for
It's
my
the reason
phone.
why we don't use it anymore.
Exactly.
Well, the phone works great, so we're good to go there. I love that. So you mentioned. I know that we caught some of that before we had you jump back on, but so you're sitting in LA. obviously, well, wearing the LA proud LA team hat there. I love it. Uh,
Yeah.
and you're with Avalon. But tell us, how long have you been working with Avalon, and how did you start working with them? Like, what's your backstory?
So ironically, my 6 year anniversary at Avalon was just this week on Wednesday,
Oh,
and
happy anniversary.
yeah. So I run the youth department, so I represent all the kids, the teenagers, the young adults that still could play high school and college age. There's some 28, 29 year olds that could still pass for high school, and then there's 20, 21, 22 year olds that look 32. Um, but yeah, I run the youth division. I also run the commercial division here in LA. We also have an office in New York, and it's two separate offices, two different rosters, but we do share several clients that are bi-coastal for film, TV, and theater mainly. Um, so a lot of the kids I represent for film and TV, the New York office represents for theater and Broadway. Um, and yeah, I came over here 6 years ago from another agency called Maverick Artist, um, which I was there for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And before that, I was at another agency called Brass Artists. And before that, I was a manager for 7 years. I had my own management company called Maier Management. And before that, I was at an agency called Icon Talent. And before that, I was at, which is now the Brogan Agency, but it used to be called Allure Models and Talent. And then before that, I got my start at LA Models and LA Talent as an assistant back in the 1990s. And, became a junior agent, then became an agent at Allure, which is now Brogan Agency, an agent at Icon. And then I became a manager for 7 years from 2003 to 2010, and then back to being an agent at Maverick and now at Avalon for 6 years.
So you've been working in the business since you were 12, is what you're telling us.
Yeah, well, yeah, I graduated college, moved to LA, and been doing this ever since. Actually,
Now,
the first 4 years in LA, I worked in production. I was a production coordinator. I had to be on the phone with agents and managers all the time. So uh, I told myself, if I'm on the other side of the phone, I'm going to give these guys a break because I know what they're going through, and also know that they sometimes have money here and there that they could squeeze out for the actors. So
right.
um, so it's good to be on both sides.
So you started off in production. Was it when you said straight up from college, but was that always your dream to work in the industry, or what was your goal to begin with?
Yeah, I knew as a kid I loved movies. I loved I loved TV shows. I grew up in the era of the Star Wars trilogy and Back to the Future trilogies, and I knew I wanted to be in the business somehow. When I went to college, um, I got a degree in media arts, film, TV background. Um, but you don't get a degree in being a talent agent or a manager or even a casting director. A lot of the jobs in the entertainment business, unless you go to like LA Film School or a film school to get a specific trade, it's kind of a general thing. And then, like I said, I moved out to LA from Arizona. I went to University of Arizona and graduated, moved out to LA, and didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a producer or a director. And so for 4 years, I jumped around doing different productions from low budget horror films to big studio films to reality shows, TV shows, game shows. I did editing. I did casting. I worked my way up to being a production coordinator. And um, so working on sets, it was a lot of fun. Every project, every job was something different and it was exciting. Except, some of these productions I worked on, I was working 16 to 20-hour days, and as exciting as it was kind of wearing me out. And I thought to myself, can I keep this up for the rest of my life? And then a lot of times too, you have a job until the project's over, and then you have to find your next job, and that next job is it's stressful finding the next one if you don't have one lined up. And so I kind of decided to leave that kind of a lifestyle and find something that's more of a, which I, ironically in school, I didn't want to have a 9 to 5, but more of a normal, lifestyle where I could have weekends off or, go trips and see things that you can't do when you're working in production. You have no life, really. That's why there's a lot of couples and marriages come out of productions and movies, and then they go on to the next one and they have a new couple or new marriage and get a lot of divorces in Hollywood. But yeah, I knew, like I said, the last movie I worked on was a movie called Can't Hardly Wait, um, about a high school graduation party, and I dealt a lot with the agents there and the managers of the cast, and also the actors. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Seth Green, a bunch of the actors would always come to my desk in the office, and I had a good time dealing with the actors and dealing with their agents, and that's when I decided. I was like, hey, enough of these 16, 20-hour days. I want to stay in this business, but work more with the actors. And that's when I decided to become an agent, and I got a job at LA Talent and LA Models in 1998 as an assistant.
Nice. So obviously, it's that background, the 4 years in production, you said has helped you with what you're doing today. Knowing some of the knowledge of working behind the scenes, you can now use that for your clients as an agent.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like when I was on the other side of it in production, agents would yell, and I had to call them and say, "Hey, your client's scene tomorrow got pushed back another day," or the call time is now 6 a.m. instead of 3 p.m. And I got a lot of yelling at me, and I was just like, don't kill the messenger. I was just like, something burnt down or something broke or the prop wasn't ready or whatever the case may be. We had to change some things around. And I felt like the agents, like, they just thought their client was the only person in the world. And so knowing that, coming back now to this side of it, yeah, I'm going to fight for my clients. I'm going to demand things, but I also have the knowledge of what's going on the other side. So I could, translate that to my talent too. It's like, hey, don't get mad. This is a situation. These things happen. I'll see if you could get an extra bump or in pay or something like that, because of the situation or whatever. But again, I'm not yelling and screaming at people because I kind of know what's going on both sides of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
so, so working in production prevented you from being a yeller or a screamer.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hang up the phone and yell and scream to myself, but that's just your typical frustration of this business.
Right. Now, I wanted something that you mentioned. I wanted to touch on. You said that you wanted a normal 9 to 5, right? But how normal 9 to 5 is in being an agent?
Well, not anymore. I mean, I thought, back in 1998, it was kind of more of a, because back then we didn't have cell phones and we barely used the internet. So it was like whatever was going on, it was when you got to the office at 9:30 till you left at 6:30, and you kind of had that. But nowadays, yeah, it's 24/7. Like I just got back from a mini vacation. I haven't had a vacation in like 20 years, but like I went on a showcase in Chicago last weekend, and I stayed a couple extra days to do some sightseeing. And I still, obviously working from my phone, my new laptop, not my old one, and yeah, it's constantly there's because technology's made it so much easier to communicate and get information and transfer information. Um, like our office is very small. Like the amount of work I'm doing now, it would have taken 10 people, 25 years ago. But now it's all condensed in one place. Um, you know, I, I actually found some video of myself in 1998 as an assistant because they were trying to shoot some pilot about being behind the scenes at an agency, and I saw myself just like I'm on the phone with like 2 lines. I'm talking to people. I'm transferring phones. Blah blah blah, and you're always on the phone with talent or casting directors constantly all day. By the end of the day, I almost lose my voice because you're talking so much. Nowadays, I don't even. I mean, there are days I barely talk at all. Like it's all communicating on an email, text message, sending messages, cell phones. And back in the day it was all verbal, and now it's all in writing pretty much. So you kind of lost that human touch, so to speak. But thankfully we have social media, so people could see that you're a real person and you have a life.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, the industry's changed quite a bit since you started, and you've seen it go through changes. And I'm picturing you already on the phone with all the wires hanging off. Some people on here probably haven't even ever experienced a phone with a wire. They're so young they that doesn't exist anymore, obviously. But I have people that join us for these sessions, and they're either aspiring talent, want to get into the business, or want to break in and get representation by an agent like yourself, or maybe they've had years of experience. But the communication part nowadays, like you said, you go through a whole day sometimes without talking. You're constantly emailing and texting. How important is it for your clients to be on top of their communication with you?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, just like I said, 25, 30 years ago, you would have to, you'd pick up the phone, and if you don't answer, I'd leave a voicemail, or we, pagers. We had their pagers. We used to beep you, get off the freeway, get it to a payphone, and call us. Um, when your agent is reaching out to you, there's a reason, and it's usually, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be urgent, but it's time sensitive. You know what I mean? Like, um, there's a reason I'm reaching out, or I'm emailing or texting you. And I get it. You might be in a yoga class, or you might be surfing for an hour or something. Like, that's fine. But like, if it starts going on 2 to 3 hours and not responding, it's really frustrating, and it's because there's an opportunity I see for you as an actor, and I just need to know, like, if you're fit the part perfectly, but can you rollerblade, or can you rollerblade backwards, or can you skateboard, or are you okay with, how good is your Spanish, or whatever the case may be. And I need to know, because the cast director is waiting. And if I don't have that answer, within an hour, by the time I get back to them, they're like, too late. We found someone else. And it's constantly like that every day, because it's so competitive. So it's really important, as an actor, to be checked. I mean, it's your job, really. I know it's really hard to not hear from your agent for hours to days to weeks at a time sometimes. But then when you see that email or that text message or that notification, jump on it right away, because there's a reason why we're reaching out to you, and it's for your benefit. You know what I mean? It's to try to get you in an audition, or find out some information to get you an audition, or possibly, hey, are you available tomorrow for a shoot? The other actor dropped out. They want to see if you're available. And I don't can't get a hold of you for a couple hours. Guess what? They're going to find someone else, and it's happened. It's frustrating, but that's why it's really important to be checking your emails. You don't have to be on it all day. I get it, but like, every time you have a chance, check, just to see if you hear anything. Check your text messages. I know a lot of actors have their own day jobs or part-time jobs, and they have to attend to that. That's fine. But like, if once you get an agent and you take this, acting profession seriously, you need to be, that's part of your job, is every night before you go to bed, let me just check my emails in case anything came in tonight. Let me check my text messages. First thing you get up in the morning, same thing. Every time you have a break during the day or lunch hour, just always be checking. And I get it, 99 100 times you don't see anything or anything, but that time that we do reach out, we need you to be promptly, to return. Now, obviously, if it's super urgent and you're not getting back to me, I start calling. You know what I mean? That's where the talking comes, and it's usually like frantic. Dude, I've been emailing, texting, where are you? Like, did you see my email? No. I was surfing, dude, or I was in yoga class. Okay, that's fine, but I need to know. Can you do this? Can you do that? But
Right.
yeah, I get it. Everyone has lives, but it's important, for me to do my job well, that you respond to all the communication we reach out to you to.
And one thing I always tell my clients is put my email as a priority, or as an alert. And every email provider has a different way of doing this, so I'm not sure exactly how to do that for everyone. But I get people that I have on priority, and it pops up like a text message. So you get 1,000 emails a day, and 900 of those are junk. But at least the priority ones are coming through as it looks like a text message on my phone, so I know, hey, Ted just emailed me. And by the way, I have yours on priority as well. So whenever you send me anything, it pops up.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Let's talk about. So you mentioned that you are in the division of youth and young adult, right? Is that what you call it
Yeah,
on?
correct. I run the youth department, so that's film, TV, commercial, print, everything that's anyone that's under 25 and under 30. If you could look still like a high school student or a college student. But for commercials here in LA, I rep all ages. So if you live here in LA, because half the auditions are in person in LA, um, I might get an audition for you, and it's tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And if you live in Germany or Australia, probably not going to make it. And it's also probably not worth the flight all the way here and getting off and Ubering there. And you spend hundreds and thousands of dollars just to do a 30-second audition. Um, and it doesn't guarantee you booking it. And now if you book something off your self tape or through a Zoom audition or something like this, then it could be worth flying in for if it's a SAG national commercial. But yeah, I rep youth and adults for commercials only in LA because we have other agents for other departments.
Got it. And so you mentioned that if somebody was 16 but looked 25, that's not considered somebody that you could represent because they're not youthful looking. Is that
Well, if they are really 16, then they're 16. But no, it's more about over 18. You know what I mean? It's so anyone under 18 is youth because they literally are 16, 17 years old. Um, but that 18 to 25-year-old range, most people in that age group kind of still look like they could, especially Hollywood shows, like Euphoria, Outer Banks, Pretty Little Liars. Those are actors in their 20s playing high school. You know what I mean? And Jeremy, you and I, like, we grew up to Beverly Hills 90210. Where Ian Ziering was like 32 playing a junior in high school. You know what I mean? But yeah, it depends on the cast. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I basically 18 and under is what I rep for film and TV, and then 18 to 25, and that stretches to 27 to 29. I even have a 30-year-old girl who's 4'11", and she looks like she's can't even drive yet, and she's 30.
wow?
So it just depends, yeah, what you pass for. But yeah, I don't really have any 16. Well, I take that back. I do have a 16-year-old boy who's like 6'2", and he looks like he's a pro football player, but he's only 16. And to bring this up, it's hard for a 16-year-old that looks 25 to get auditions because they don't look their age, and then the age they look, they want to hire real 25-year-olds or over 18 to play those roles.
Right. Now I know, like even the current TV show. What was on the other day? I was at my brother-in-law's house, and they were watching Ginny and Georgia. Have you seen that program, the from Netflix?
Yeah, I don't watch it, but I definitely, a lot of my clients love the show and they want me to get them on it and so forth. And I saw a meme that came out the other day of the cast members from that show,
I looked it
the
up.
age
Yeah.
they play and the age they really are, right?
Right.
And it's like the modern day Beverly Hills 90210 because like half that cast who are supposed to be in their teens or 20 years old are in their 30s. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No, I looked it up on IMDb. I was like, I wonder how old some of these guys are. I know they're obviously not, 16 or 15, whatever age they're supposed to be. So I'm looking
right.
it up. I think most of them are 26 and older, or like the majority of the entire cast.
Yeah, it is crazy, you know what I mean? And I have to tell my 15, 16 year olds that, you know, even though you see a show where the characters are 15, 16, they want real 18 and over to play that age because they're adults. They could do, if you've seen Euphoria, adult situations, and they're old enough to do that. Plus, anyone that's under 18 has to have a teacher on set, a parent and guardian. They have to do at least 3 hours of schooling every day. It's a lot. Again, coming from the production side, hiring a minor is a lot more work for the production, and it's also, you start going to overtime and things like that because the kids in the class and school on the set, everyone's pissed off. You know what I mean? Because everyone's got to get overtime. Or I shouldn't say they're pissed off. The ones with the bunny are pissed off. Yeah. So it's it's tough when you're under 18 for all those adult shows that play high school. But the 15, 16 year olds, you live in the Disney Nickelodeon world. That's where they cast real 15, 16, 17-year olds, 14-year olds, because they are used to it. The main cast are always kids and teens. So they're used to having teachers on set and schooling for 3 hours. They'd schedule their shooting schedule around, having kids on set. Whereas Grey's Anatomy is used to having adults. So when a 15-year-old's on set at Grey's Anatomy and the director's, okay, let's cut to their scene. All right, let's do their scene after lunch, blah, blah, blah. And then they come back and like, well, where's the kid? Oh, he's in school for 3 hours. We got to wait, blah, 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 blah. And, everyone's upset. You know what I mean? So Disney Nickelodeon, that's why they hire real teens, because they're used to it. And then shows like Euphoria and Outer Banks have 22-year-olds playing 16.
Right. And when you're dealing with, it's not that they don't want to deal with the kid, it's just dealing with all the extras that come along with it, right? And sometimes you have a parent that's not easy to deal with, and now you have this actor who's attached to this difficult parent, or like you said, the teacher and everything else.
Yeah, you hit it right on the nose. Exactly right.
Well, now you said that you mentioned that you guys have an office in New York, and that office represents talent on Broadway, right? Is that along with
Yeah,
other talent, of course?
yeah,
But
yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
some of your clients that you work with in LA are also represented by the office in New York for Broadway type opportunities.
Yes, correct.
Nice. Does that make it difficult? Like if one of your talent books a Broadway show, which obviously is going to be a reoccurring show that happens, for an X amount of period of time, does that make it difficult for somebody like you that you cannot
Yeah.
book them for something else anymore?
Oh my God, it's so funny you're asking me this, because I some of my best talent kids are the ones that could book Broadway, right? They're like 10 years old in a body of a 10-year-old, but the maturity of a 30-year-old, like the things they know and can say and act and do. I feel like they have to be reincarnated, because it's like, how does this little 10-year-old know so much, and could act that way when most adults can't even act that way. So, but yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And, it's like some of my best kids, I'm happy to have on my roster, and I'm submitting them for new TV shows and pilots and big movies. And then, so last week, one of my girls, booked a Broadway show, Beauty and the Beast, and she had an audition for a pilot, and they're just like, oh, we're not, you can't do that. Like, we're on Broadway, and it's like, oh, like, I bust my ass to get that opportunity. And like, did you forget she starts rehearsals this week? Well, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, so some of my best kids, it's a double-edged sword. They're very talented. They could book TV shows and movies and series as series regulars, but they're also so good that they book a lot of Broadway and Broadway tours and things like that too.
Right. And now, is it difficult for an actor to transition between TV, film, and Broadway, or vice versa? Have you seen that, or worked with any actors that have done that?
Yeah, I would say that, like, talent that comes from Broadway or from New York, or should I just say theater talent, um, they may have a little bit hard time. If they're trained that way, they're trained to speak on a stage to the person in the last row, right? So they're always kind of up, they're always a little bit loud, they're always a little animated. Whereas, then they get on audition for a soap opera where it's more tense and drama with their eyes, and less animated, and much more quiet, more expressing with their facial expressions than their voice. So I feel like, a very well-rounded actor knows both sides of it. But it's hard. I mean, some people want to do Broadway, and they're trained their whole lives to do it, and they get it, and they are on Broadway, and then they're like, okay, I've had, let me move to LA where it's better weather, and try some film and TV. And they realize, um, you know they have to bring it down a lot, for the auditions or for the job. And it's a learning process, you know what I mean? It's hard for them because they're so talented and great actors, that they kind of have to reinvent themselves a little bit for the film and TV, world. As far as going the other way, um, yeah, sometimes, actors are so trained and they're so good at being subtle and dramatic with their facial expressions and whatever, and their eye movements, that doesn't really translate to the stage, where the person in the back row is like, huh, can't see what's going on, you have to turn it up a little bit, be more animated. So there's definitely a difference between the two. And when one's going to the other space, they have to remember, like, it's same with comedy actors. There's one, single cam comedy shows that everyone loves, that's funny, and then there's sitcoms, right, where there's multiple cameras, and the stage actors tend to do a lot better on the sitcoms because they're used to performing on stage. And then some of the film and TV actors have a hard time with sitcoms because they're being in the moment, and then people are laughing in front of them, and they're like, then they get flustered, you know what I mean? So, like, it's the theater actors that do better with the sitcoms.
Right. How important is it for your clients to continue training? Do you recommend that they do this if like if, especially if they're adjusting from one space to another from a different, if they were involved with one project and now it's a completely different mood or attitude type of a project?
Yeah, of course. I mean, even if you're, coming off a TV show or a movie, it's this business is always a learning process. It's always, being a human being is a learning process. Everything is evolving around us, with technology, and you kind of have to evolve with it. And after the pandemic, like, you know, everyone had to do self tapes, right? So commercial actors were used to going into the casting room, and the best commercial actors usually walked in there, yo, hey, they're really good at, chilling with the cameraman, the casting directors, hey, good to see you, Bobby. Hey, how's the dog? Hey, blah, blah, blah. Having that whole rapport. Oh, I love this guy. He's so great. And then they hit their one or two lines, whatever, boom, boom, boom. All right, yeah, let's book him. We love that guy. Yeah. It changed because everything is on tape. They don't see the people in person. They're not able to chit chat. And now they became like, what am I doing? I'm just by myself taping. Like, they lost their charisma and personality, and they had to learn how to still have that and put it on tape and put it in their slates or whatever. But it was technology that changed the way they had to audition, and so you have to learn it, almost relearn it. You know what I mean? I told a lot of older actors after the pandemic, you need to take another commercial class. Why? I book commercials. I go, but it's different now. It's a whole different ballgame. You got to learn how to do the little knick-knacky things that they're looking for. So, but yeah, just in general, like any actor that wants to continue succeeding, and I get it. If you book a series and you're on a TV, you're on NBC for 5 years. Okay, I don't need acting classes. Well, if you're not working again in the next year or so, I look at acting as sort of like a sport. You know what I mean? And it's, yeah, you're a great basketball player. You can hit free throws. You can hit 3 pointers. Stop playing basketball for a year and then go back out there and see if you can play a game at full speed. You're probably going to be a little rusty. And I feel like that's the same with acting. Is if you're a comedy actor, you should continue taking classes and working on your drama. If you're already on a drama show, you just did a little drama part in the movie, work on your comedy. There's always stuff to work on, you know what I mean? And your improv skills and different characters. And, until you're 95, 99 years old, yeah, I doubt everyone's mastered every character and everything you could possibly, get out of yourself as an actor. So I feel like constantly, and I get it. Some actors, I'm friends with actors, they're like, oh, I'm burnt out of this class. I'm like, okay, well, then change it up. Go to a different class, or go into something else, and keep yourself on your toes. But I think it's important, both as an athlete and as an actor, as a a creative talent, to always keep yourself on your toes. And I think training is the best way to do that.
Right. I love how you compare it to sports because, pro athlete gets paid very well, and a professional actor can get paid very well as well. And their
Yeah.
paychecks could be very similar, but a pro athlete always has a coach, and we all know that. We all understand that a professional football player or basketball player or soccer player, they're constantly working with a coach. But for some reason, there's a disconnect for people out there when it comes to acting. They just think, oh, as a professional who's getting paid millions of dollars, that they probably just sit at home and drink margaritas all day by the pool until their next job. I mean, you know. But if they're making just as much money as a professional athlete, they're out there working with coaches just as regularly as a pro athlete is. You know,
Yeah,
and
and it's so competitive that if you know if you let off the gas a little bit, someone's going to come in and do better than you, or take that job, or take that role that you didn't work hard at, or weren't practicing. Like I said, it's you take time off from anything, you're going to come back a little rusty, or you're not going to be on your A game, so to speak. And so sometimes you wonder, like, oh, I remember that actor. Yeah, he was on a lot of stuff, and like, what happened? Like, they probably just like got too kind of lazy, or they just assume like, oh, I've done enough, like I don't need to keep working at it. And that's what happens. The ones that are working hard and continue to train come sneaking up on them and take those roles. So you got to stay on it for sure.
I mean, just like with an athlete, right? If you're not
Right.
on top of your game, somebody younger than you is going to come and take it. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
Ted, what is a way that you find new talent? So, say if somebody's out here today watching and listening, and they would love to be have an opportunity to work with you. What Where can they meet you, or how do you usually find your talent?
Well, especially for the youth division, it's considered showcase season right now. What does that mean? That means from basically the middle of May or beginning of May till the end of July. Um, Especially, I'm talking about kids and teens and young adults. Um, they just graduated college, they just graduated high school, or they're still in school, and they're on summer break. So there's these showcases where like I said, I was in Chicago last week for a showcase. Found this amazing little girl who could sing and is adorable. I think she could be the next star. There's other great talent there. For commercials, I found a Santa Claus. Like, he sat down, I was like, oh my gosh, there's Santa Claus in like a shirt and slacks. I'm like, okay, you're really Santa Claus, right? You're just here, trying to get an acting career. But yeah, no, I go to showcases all year round, really, when there are some. So if you're a talent and you have an opportunity to be in a showcase where you may have to travel to that city for the showcase, or a showcase is coming to town, or in your neck of the woods, where there's legit agents like myself, and managers, and sometimes casting directors. That's how you get discovered. You don't sit at home and wait for us to come to you. So yeah, if you could find yourself doing a showcase, that's a good way to go. Or um, you know, if you are in a market of like New York and LA, or Chicago or Atlanta. Atlanta's really hot right now. You're in those markets. You could take acting classes there, where they too may have a showcase at the end of the year, or end of the class, or something like that, where they invite the local agents and managers or casting directors in to get discovered. So yeah, I feel like that's the best way is to be seen, is to do a showcase. Now, sometimes you live in Germany or Australia, or Timbuktu, I don't know, and you can't get to the showcase, or you can't afford it. I totally get that. There are showcases that are online, like a Zoom showcase. Those are it's tougher about those because we don't physically actually meet you and have a chance to chit chat or anything like that. And also, too, how much are they paying attention when you come on to do your scene in the Zoom or whatever? It's hard to tell compared to in person. But yeah, it's the least you could do though is give it a shot. Another way too is just the old fashioned submitting, and you know back in the day when I first started this, we used to get the mail every day, would have 50 to 100 headshots and resumes looking for agents. And, every day, getting all those headshots, you would think like, we just ignore it. Well, it's like junk mail. A lot of times you do ignore it, but you still look through it. You're like, okay, what's this junk? What's this junk? Oh, what's this? Is this junk? I don't know. So every once in a while, we would get something in the mail. We're like, oh, look at this person. Like, we don't have someone like the Santa Claus, right? Like, I wasn't looking for Santa Claus in Chicago last weekend, but I found one, and I'm going to start working with them. But yeah, I've been down to Florida. I've been to up in New York. I've been to Baltimore. I was just in Chicago and Dallas a couple weeks in a row last month. Houston, Atlanta. I've been to Charlotte, Indianapolis. I just go to these showcases to find talent, but most of the time it's showcases locally in LA, um, where you get more agents um, and managers that are here in LA or New York, whichever one. I know this past week was IMTA New York, and in January there's IMTA in January. But there's a lot of showcases like that you do your research, see what agents and managers are going to be there, what casting people may be there, and that's how you're going to get discovered. Now, another way is, like I said, submitting. Yeah, we get a ton of emails, and I have 1,200 junk emails right now, or whatever. But yeah, if you can't get seen unless you try, right? And if maybe you shoot me an email and I take a quick look and it's not something I'm looking for, I'm not going to respond. But it could be something I'm looking for, or it might get my attention, and I'm like, oh hey, okay, let me reach out to this person. Um, so that's another way, and then another last way I'll say, because I keep talking, on Actors Access or Breakdown Services, there's a thing called Talent Link, where you could upload your profile or put your profile up there from your Actors Access, and um, I get a notification every day. Oh, you have 38 new people in your Talent Link. You have 48 more people who added themselves. I look through, I hate seeing that number on my notifications. I want it zero. So every time I have a chance, every day I'll take a look at it. I'll go through and I'll just thumb through, and I've signed people from it. I'm like, oh, here's someone I don't have. Or I need an older Indian man, in his 70s or what. Oh, here's one. I'll look at the resume, check them out, watch the reel. Okay, this person looks pretty good. I'll send them a little C-mail. They write back. We get in touch through email. We do a Zoom interview. Boom, there we go. So you got to put yourself out there, because we're not going to come to you.
Right. The one thing that my takeaway from all this is obviously, showcases is the best opportunity. Whether it be Zoom or in person, obviously Zoom works. In person's great. I love seeing people on Zoom and then you meet them in person and they're like 3 feet taller than you expected, or like there's just a connection. Obviously, being in the same room with somebody, right? It's nice to have. Not that Zoom doesn't work, though. Of course it does, and we're all using technology nowadays, which is great. But the showcases for me, it's showing that somebody's dedicated, right? However they got to that showcase, they put in the effort, they got prepared, they put in the work, and they said, I'm going to be here on this day at this time to be a part of this showcase. So that lets me know that you're dedicated. Anybody can reach out on Instagram and say, hey, I'm a great actor, you need someone like me, and you know how many of those messages can you really take seriously, right? And then the emails, the like you said, it's gotta jump out at you, right? So I always tell people, hey, if you're watching us here today and you're interested in working with Ted, ask him, hey, how was your Chicago trip? Or something like that, as the subject line, right? And you learned a little insight on him today, and now maybe your email can stand out among the other hundreds of emails that you're receiving.
You're absolutely right. I've gotten emails where, and look, we'll look at all of them. I mean, for how long is, it depends on what you're putting in there, and um, yeah, subject line might get my attention, but it's really important you do your research. We could tell obviously when an actor sent out the same blanket email to a lot of times they even change the name. Dear James. I'm like, I'm not James. Like, are you even paying attention who you're emailing? And but yeah, a personal email, somebody that took the time to research, like, hey, I looked at your roster, you don't have anyone like me, and and just to kind of like, because if we decide to work together, it is a working relationship. It's like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. It's a relationship. It's a business relationship, and it's easier for me to fight for people that I like. You know what I mean? That you're not only just talented, but like I'm fighting for you because I like you. I want you to succeed. I want to do everything I can. Like I wake up in the middle of the night going, oh shoot, I need to do this tomorrow. Because I want you to have those opportunities. If you're somebody that's like, too conceited or like, oh, you're just a whatever little agent, whatever, like you're just a step in my step. Like we've sensed that kind of stuff, and it's like I don't want to work with someone like that. Like I don't care how talented you are. So yeah, I agree with you. Being personable is really important. Doing your research, not just sending a generic email to me, because that doesn't get my attention. you know and then also, if you find something in common with me, whether it's the music I listen to, or sports teams, or whatever the case may be, that tells me you did the research, that you are serious about this, right? That you are like, okay, I'm not just saying, oh, I hope he picks me, I hope he likes me. Like, no, like, hey, listen, I really like what I heard from their showcase, and I researched you, I researched your clients, I like the work you do. We listen to the same kind of music, or I like this team and you like that team, but maybe we'll get together when they play each other. I don't know, just that kind of stuff starts building the relationship from the get-go.
I love that you talk about how it's a relationship, because it really is. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think you sign somebody not thinking you're going to be working with them for the next 20 years, right? I mean, it, in your mind, you're committed to that in your head. Obviously, if it works out or not, you want it to. You hope that it will. If you're with somebody for 20 years, you're doing a good job, right?
Yeah, no, listen, that was probably one of the hardest things when I came to Avalon from Maverick was, the youth division. Unfortunately, there is an expiration point. You know what I mean? That like if you're starting to go out for a dad, you're not going to be going out for the high school kid anymore, unless it's a high school dad. But no, yeah, it's everyone I sign, I expect to work and have them be with. And then listen, we've had clients that have grown out of the youth division and stayed in our adult division because we had such a great working relationship, and they know they're with Avalon, and it's like, oh, they'll still reach out to me for the younger roles, but then they'll reach out to the other agent for the older roles, and that's a gradual um, transgression into adulthood. But yeah, like everyone we sign, like especially in the adult division, they've had people at Avalon for 20 years. And I've had a client, 1998, I when I was just an assistant, we had this reporter at LA Talent, here in LA. She was on Fox 11 News at the time. And when I left there and I went somewhere else, she followed me to Allure. And then I left Allure and went to Icon. She followed me to Icon. I went from Icon to being a manager, and then I became a manager. Then I went back to being an agent at Maverick. She was with me at Maverick. Then when I came over to Avalon, I was like, oh, shoot.
What did
Um,
you?
I only rep kids now. And she's like, oh, bummer. But let me introduce you to the adult agent. And they took her on for the commercials. And then that agent after the pandemic left. So I took over her roster. And guess what? I'm her agent again. So since 1998, that's, 27 years. She's only been working with me for the last 27 years, and then someone else at the agency as
Right.
well.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's amazing. I mean, and I'm sure you appreciate that. With every single time you moved, I'm sure you weren't expecting it, but I'm sure you appreciated it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a compliment that you know, because a lot of people will go to a big agency because of the name of the agency, or they have such a great reputation. Um, but actors will soon find out, like, a lot of the people you deal with are your agent in particular. It's not the relationship with the agency necessarily, but more of the agent. So a lot of times the agent leaves, a lot of clients go with them, and it's understood on the agency side. You know what I mean? That's where the relationship was. If they end up staying at the agency and the agent leaves, it's like starting all over again with building that relationship, and it's usually not the same, because you're in a category that agent, you're their number one client in that category, and then another agent comes in and they're like, "Oh yeah, 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 I'll put you on my You're number 5 on my list." You know what I mean? So it changes. You know what I mean? So yeah, having that relationship is really important.
Jason out there is saying that he's a Cowboys fan. Is there any way that you could work with a Cowboys fan? I don't. Is
Yeah, I feel sorry for you, man.
that?
seventies,
Well,
80s, and 90s. Like he had a good 70, 80, 90 run, but since 2000, it's been a little bit rough.
Jason, I don't think you considered youth and young adult either. You're a little older than that, but that's okay. We can.
Well,
uh,
he's a Cowboys fan because he was a Cowboys fan when they were really good.
yeah, right, exactly. Now, question I know that's been kind of burning in the back of my head. You were in Chicago, so do you prefer deep dish or regular pizza? What-
I love all pizza, so I know that's a very political answer, but no, I love it all. Like, there's do I which one do I like better? Like, it's kind of like with hamburgers, whatever you're in the mood for. I mean, I'll have a Whataburger, I'll have an In-N-Out burger, I'll have McDonald's, I don't know, whatever, Shake Shack. Like, it depends what I'm in the mood for. So when it comes to pizza, like, I'll have a skinny crust, I'll have a thick crust, I'll have a deep dish. Yeah, so yeah, it was good being in Chicago having a deep dish. But also, looking forward to having a regular piece of pizza the next time I have pizza here.
Deep dish is great, but you have to be patient for it, right? Because it takes an extra length of time to make, and as long as you know that ahead of time, you're okay with it. But
Yeah, yeah, and it's also you're not going to eat a whole pizza. Well, you can, but like it's not like a Domino's pizza where you eat a whole medium pizza by yourself because it's such a thin crust. The deep dish fills you up after two or three slices, pretty much.
for I lost my internet connection for just a second. So, well, we're wrapping up here. I know I don't want to take up all your weekend. I'm sure you have a lot of great things planned this weekend, but real quickly, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you? Do you guys have like a general inbox, email wise, or do you have a website that they submit to?
Yeah, so we have the website. It's avalonartistgroup.com, and it has all the information on where to submit and what have you. There's an email. I don't know how many people are on here right now, but you know, again, like, I run two divisions, so like I get probably 400 or 500 emails a day. Um, and a lot of them I have to really pay attention to. And a lot of others I don't pay, and I do, like, people submit all the time, and like I'll put it off to the side, put it offside, and then like I may have an hour to kill, or before I go to a movie premiere or something, like I'll let me go through all the submissions and I'll do that. So if people are wanting to do that and understand, like, I may not respond that day or that week even, that it might take me a while. It's Ted at avalonartist.com.
Okay,
Pretty
perfect. So
simple.
Ted at avalonartist.com. And we have like 200,000 people on here right now, I think. So you'll get a flood tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're good. Well, Ted, I do appreciate your time. Any big plans this weekend? Anything exciting happening?
Well, I've been out of town the last 4 weekends. I was in Dallas, Baltimore, Chicago. This is my first time in LA for over a month, and I'm pretty much just gonna, like, catch up on a lot of errands and things like that. I do. There is a Hollywood birthday party. This manager's got a party tonight in Hollywood, so I might swing by that. And then. But yeah, it's just really just getting caught up because I haven't been home on a weekend in over a month. So that's my plans.
Well, it sounds like a productive weekend. So you got a party tonight, and then you're going to get caught up on errands tomorrow.
Yep. Then it's back to work on Monday.
Well, Ted, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all the useful information, and hopefully, I'll see you here in the near future.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, everybody, enjoy your weekends. Good to see you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.